right, boys. Do we know what we're doing today?
Yeah.
What's the plan?
Plan.
We gotta focus on the cooling system here. So we know from the nice lady that we got the car from, we know the reason the car was parked is because it had a radiator leak. Not entirely sure where it was leaking, why it was leaking. Was it the radiator itself? Was it a hose? Was it a line? Even if the radiator was okay, I don't think we'd want to try and run with it because it's been sitting for so long and it's probably gunked up and gonna have some issues. So new radiator, right, Mikey? So we got a nice new one there. Should we do an unboxing here? See what she looks like?
Yeah, let's unbox it, Mikey. Yeah.
Let's do it. Come on.
What do we got here?
Ooh, baby. Ooh, it's shiny.
It's shiny.
Shiny means it goes fast.
Shiny. They go shiny. They go
Now, I'm
fast.
not sure. All right, so the orientation is all good. I don't know what these lines here are for at all. I don't know if there's... Yeah, I don't know what those are for. They're on the old radiator too. This one here, I'm pretty sure is a drain to drain the radiator. But I don't know what those two lines are. There's two of them, so clearly it's an in and an out of some sort. All right, after further investigations, we decided that those lines are going down to the transmission. So those are actually, it must be a trans-cooler loop, or there must be some kind of trans-cooler built into the radiator. I don't know if that's a common thing. I don't know, but we're probably gonna reconnect them. My concern is that if those lines are in poor shape, are we low on trans fluid? But no, we're not, because I checked that when the car was still in the field. I mean, there's fluid on it. It's not full, so it may be a little low. We may have to get some trans fluid in there, but all right. I think it's safe to say we found the issue with the radiator. Come closer. See this? This isn't supposed to go like this.
What?
This is definitely a rotten coil.
Good thing we got a new one.
Yeah, this was, without a doubt, you know, this was the issue. This is, I'm sure this is where the leak was coming from. Oh, look at that. I just pushed on it a little bit. It's coming all apart. So that would be our radiator leak issue right there. Upper radiator hose installed. All right, dude. All right, so radiators installed with the original radiator bracket. We got new hoses, new clamps, so we got to put some coolant into it.
Better idea than just that.
Now, obviously, you know, without the shroud, this is not going to move anywhere near the proper amount of air to cool this engine, but for just idling it, it should be okay. And if we get this to a point where we need to make it roadworthy, we'll either get the proper radiator, or we'll, you know, maybe we'll do something with like an electric fan and get rid of that clutch fan altogether, which I would be absolutely fine with doing that. But nice and slow, nice and slow. That's it. Alternator belt installed, but I am basically positive that this alternator is shot, because that's not supposed to be like that. Hopefully it makes a good enough connection to charge so that we can do some testing on this thing, because otherwise the battery's not going to last very long. So we're going to hook the electric fuel pump back up. Give it a rip, and we'll start checking after these vacuum leaks. There's about 800,000 of them. Probably have to make a run up to the auto parts store to grab some vacuum line. Although I'm not too concerned about necessarily reconnecting all these vacuum lines and replacing them. I'm just looking to probably eliminate as many of them as I can, just so that we can get this thing heated up and make sure that the water pump's good and that we get all the air out of the system and can operate this thing for an extended period of time without overheating it. So, see what we get.
What's wrong? Is it the alternator?
Go. I think the sad truth of the matter is we're going to have to throw the towel in for today. We got the radiator put in, new hoses, and got the main vacuum components that we need kind of hooked up, like the vacuum advance, and it does idle.
It does idle, but it's still not running.
Well, it's conking out, and what we've decided is the issue is that it's a carburetor issue.
And also it's bleeding everywhere. Bleeding.
Yeah, the trans lines are putting trans fluid out onto the ground, so we gotta get those lines either hooked up or capped, or something's got to be done with those.
I thought we were gonna do it today, Dad.
But the main issue is the carburetor is not getting fuel where it needs it when it needs it. So it's if I just kind of sit there with a little squeeze bottle and slowly meter fuel into the carburetor, it idles pretty much indefinitely. We're gonna order a new alternator. We're gonna probably order a rebuild kit for this carburetor.
My hands are dirty.
We should have no issues. We should have no issues rebuilding that. I've done that more than a few times.
Yeah.
And then we should be doing plugs and wires. I keep saying we're going to do plugs and wires, and I feel like we never do them, but we just can't get over this hurdle of getting a consistent idle out of this thing. It won't idle on its own. With you know, with our assistance and intervention, it idles good. It's not smoking anymore, but it can't idle on its own. So we got to get over that hurdle. We got to get this thing to idle. Then we'll do plugs and wires, and then we'll get some fluid change done. But yeah, it definitely, if it's not one thing, it's another so far, right? Good morning, everybody. Sunday morning, I'm here by myself. The other Wilcox boys, we were out late last night, went to a hockey game, a little bit of laser tag, and it just ended up being a late night, so they're kind of tired, didn't want to kind of come out this morning, which I don't blame them. But I got to get this Firebird progressing, because the last few times that we've worked on it, I just feel like we're spinning our wheels. We're making baby steps of progress with it. So last time we were here, we halfway slammed in a temporary cooling system, but it's just idling like absolutely. So I don't think that those bowls are filling, so that needle and seat is probably sticking. If I manually fill the bowls and I get some fuel there, the accelerator pump does put fuel into the intake, but it idles well, but it's intermittent. If you do try and give it throttle, half the time it just falls on its face. So what I'm gonna do is bring it over here, look at that, see if we can get that sorted out simply and easily. If it's just not working, I was able to get a brand new carburetor for $100. So it's like rebuild kit for $50 and a bunch of pain in the butt, or just toss a carburetor in and be done with it. So I think I'll probably ultimately end up going that route with it. But first thing we gotta do is get this out of here. And of course I picked a fantastic day to do it, because it's raining. So we're gonna bring that outside into the rain, and then take that outside into the rain, and then I will, by myself, push these back into the building, which I probably won't be able to do, so you guys can get a laugh at that. Carburetor here. We got a fuel line runs in. It's the accelerator pump, which works. There's only one screw there, and I am positive that that one screw is not going to give me full access. I think these two screws come out, and I think this whole top's going to lift off. So let's try that real quick. Wow, I messed up in more than one way. So my nice inexpensive carburetor that I bought, it said it was for a Pontiac 301. They lied. Looks like that's the Chevrolet version, not the Pontiac version. It's a little bit different size. So I said to myself, well, let's just take the old carburetor apart and kind of see what we see. And I got impatient, and then I took a phone call, and the long and short of it is I left two very small screws in that I thought I had already taken out, but I didn't. And then when I was pulling the cover off, it broke. So now, not only do I have the wrong replacement carburetor, but I broke the carburetor that I could have fixed. Yeah, it actually looked really good on the inside. Something obviously was sticking because I don't think the bowl was filling. But I'm pretty sure had I not broken it, I could have, blown it out with some brake clean, cleaned everything up really well, put it back together. I'm sure it would have been fine, but yeah, now that's not an option. So what is an option is I'm gonna run up to the parts store. I think they have an adapter plate that'll allow me to mount this carburetor onto my existing intake. So I'm gonna go see what they got, see if they got something that'll work. Hope for the best here, and hopefully we get this thing running again. All right, so here's the deal. I picked up this adapter kit. Think it's gonna fit, but there's this plate that I had to take off here, and there's some kinds of, I'm assuming some emissions bullcrap. I don't know. I have no idea what this little diaphragm does. I can tell you it was really charred up, so I don't know if it had, I don't know. I have no idea what it did. It was vacuum actuated. I don't know. Put it in the comments if any of you guys know what that does or is for, but this adapter plate is not going to cover that. And, this is a OEM intake manifold. It was built and designed for this car to run with this, the factory carburetor, which I just broke, with all the emissions control and crap. So this is not, from what I can see, is not going to cover that. And I really don't even. Actually, this is not going to work. I can tell you right now, this is not going to work. Not at all. I don't think that this. It's a 2-barrel carburetor adapter, and I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if that's machined to redirect the fuel and air into that opening or not. I don't know, man. This is probably not going to work. I hate to open it. If I open it, I can't return it, but I love spending money on shit I don't need. I guess we're just going to open it. We'll see what happens. I mean, it fits, guys, but no, it doesn't fit well enough. I just wasted 26 bucks. Yep, that was a waste of money. Does anyone need a Mr. Gasket adapter, catalog number 1933? I'll give you a real sweet deal on it. So the problem is that although it does fit on here, I mean, this is not going to be very good for performance, number one. Number two, even with the carburetor on here, there is... Oh, shit, that doesn't... Nope, it's not going to work. I guess my options at this point are return... Well, the best option is going to be return the carburetor I got. That's the wrong one. See if I can get the right one. If I can, I'll just be replacing what's broke with new, and that's probably the best option. I just don't know that I can find that cheaply enough as like an OEM carburetor. But I'll see. That Chevy one was definitely cheap. Next option would be see if I can't find some like the correct adapter for this to put like a Holly or an Edelbrock or whatever, a Chevy, some other carburetor onto this intake. Maybe they make an adapter to fit that on there. I don't know what this thing does here. I really don't know what that is for. almost think it's like when that diaphragm opens, it would allow air into the intake manifold. I think, because that's seated in there right now. So if it was vacuum actuated, maybe vacuum causes that diaphragm to, I don't know what this does. What a bummer. So yeah, the other option I guess would be if I wanted to is like just yank that intake off and get a Pontiac intake, maybe like a 4-barrel intake, and just replace it. And that opens up a lot of options for the carburetor down the line, because this is just so specific to the OEM carburetor. I'm kind of pigeonholed in a way if I can't find the right parts. Okie doke, she's in the air. This is the first time she's been in the air. Go ahead and take a walk around it so you guys can see the extent of the rust. No surprises with the quarter panel. I definitely knew those were rusted. Over here, that can be fixed. You know, with the rocker panel, we can build a little patch panel out of some heavy gauge steel to replace that. And then we're obviously gonna have to do a lower quarter section there where it ties into the B pillar. I think that's what that is there. I think the A pillar's at the front, B pillar's in the back. I'm not sure. But yeah, that can be fixed. Keep walking around here. The rear, what would you call this here? I don't know. It's a support that actually ties the quarters together from the passenger over to the driver's side. And that was sitting in the dirt and the mud and the wet, and I mean, that's basically gone. That's gonna be replaced. That's not too terrible of a job. Around to the driver's side. Quarter panel is in somewhat better shape, but it does have a rust hole right there. Probably just a full quarter panel, and we'll cut what we need out of it. A little bit more rust there. Rocker panel is not too bad. Both sides, when you go on from the underside and look at it, although it is rusted, it's not rotten. It's pretty darn solid. And these pinch welds are good. Even though they were sitting in the dirt, they seem to have gotten through unscathed, which is good. I've never had to do that kind of repair, so yeah, I'm happy about that. Obviously the fenders are getting replaced completely. Those replacements are sitting right there. They're dirty, they're the wrong color, but they're straight. So, and obviously this car is gonna get painted at some point for JJ. Let's see, we look up here, what do we see? So there's that radiator support that is, you know, it was just returning to the earth in that field. I mean, it's not even held on to anything. I don't know what's holding it in place, but it's still there. I probably should stop touching it. It's gonna fall on me. But these front frames, I don't remember what they're called. I know this is like a GM thing where the front frame rail of sorts, whatever you want to call it, it actually bolts in. I don't remember what the hell they're called. But anyways, these are really super duper solid all the way up to the front on both sides. There is surface scale for sure, but it's not rot. It's just surface rust. So, you know, we'll clean all that up, treat the rust. The little body mounts, they're shot, dry rotted, cracked. Replace those. The trans support here, solid. super solid. I think that's the e-brake cable. Don't need that. Brakes just try and slow you down anyways. Yeah, I got to thinking. I wonder if that exhaust is just plugged with shit. It seemed like we were getting some puff and smoke coming out the tailpipe somewhat. But I wonder if that might have been part of our idling issue, was that there's just a bunch of shit in the exhaust. Floor pans are trashed, just trashed. The toe boards look good for the most part. There's probably some holes in certain spots that I'll have to patch in, but the toe boards overall are pretty clean. They're pretty clean. This little hole here is rust coming from the inside out, and that's probably from just, you know, a driver getting in the rain or in the snow. I don't know. I'm sure this car got driven in the snow to some degree. So, you know, wetness from the inside and then kind of rusting through, or water just getting in while the car was parked. That could be too. But that little hole is not too bad. That can be fixed, and then as the toe board goes up, it seems pretty solid. So that's good. Driver floor pan is the better of the two. The passenger floor pan is shot. But I'm just amazed at how thin all of this metal feels. It's so thin. I mean, you just push on it, you get some flex out of it. And it's not overly rusty. It's like, that's the factory undercoating, I'm pretty sure. Like, I can see paint here. And then I think this is like a factory undercoat. So, but it's just thin metal, real thin. Driver rear floor pan, trash. Passenger rear floor pan, trashed. That pan under the seat that I was hoping in another video, I said something like, hopefully we'll get lucky.
Hopefully I'm gonna get lucky and the underside of those rear seats won't be rotten.
Yeah, we didn't. We did not. They're gone. They're gone. This metal is so stinking thin. We're gonna have to do some patch pans. That's not a big deal. What is a big deal is that these rear frame rails are trash. They are so much worse. Actually, they're about as bad as I thought they were gonna be when I first pulled this thing out of the field. But when I got to looking at it, just sticking my head under the car, they feel pretty good, and I didn't see this big honking nightmare. I don't know how I missed it when I was changing the tires. I probably wasn't really looking, but that frame rail is gonna need some repair. It's good up and through here. I got no issues that way, but this whole section is gonna have to be replaced. Same thing with this. It's not rotting through, but I mean, I can push on it and get some flex out of it. And pretty scaled up. So, gas tank test. Doesn't sound like there's any gas in it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It might mean that there's a leak. Might mean that it was just empty when parked. I don't know. Is that even metal? Yeah, it's metal. Anywho's, that's what we're working with, folks. She is going to need some work. The kids are gonna be expert welders when this is all done. Good morning. We're back on the FireTurd today. Got a kind of a big day ahead of us here. As you saw in the last time I was working on the car here, I broke the carburetor.
Did?
I did, but I got a new one. Found this online. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, I only paid about $500 for this car. And I think I got more invested in parts than I do in the car. But we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that. No. That new carburetor cost was about, I think it was $300 for a remanufactured carburetor, but we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that, nope. I also got a new alternator. That was pretty cheap. But we're gonna go ahead and get this thing running today. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna tie the two trans lines going to the radiator transcooler. We're gonna tie those together so that they're not just pumping trans fluid out onto the ground. And then we're gonna bring the car down, change the carburetor, hopefully get that somewhat dialed in. And if all goes well, oil change, spark plugs, spark plug wires. And then we'll go ahead and put a complete stamp on the engine, right? Keep going if you can. Yeah, she's getting snug now.
I think I did it.
All right, and then you got this one up here.
Oh, again. How many things am I almost gonna get in my eye in one day?
Good job,
So
dude.
far, I've counted 2.
2 things going up your nose from the car?
Is
How's it smell?
terrible.
So, what we got next here, we got this plate houses the EGR valve.
I thought it was HGR.
The what?
HGR.
HER, no, HGR, or EGR, geez, EGR valve. So I took this off when I was trying to put that other carburetor on, and the gasket up here on the top edge kind of broke. I didn't order one of those, and probably should. I guess there's a few things we could do. We could try and make up a piece of gasket. I think what we're gonna do is just put some RTV, no, not duct tape.
Well, it would work.
It might, but it probably would leak. So we're gonna just put a little bit of RTV on here, kind of snug it down, hope for the best. It should be fine. Again, before we take this thing on the road, there's gonna be a lot more stuff we're gonna need to do to this engine, but we just wanna get it running, make sure that it's healthy, at least marginally healthy, salvageable, and we'll kind of go from there. So. Hi, buddy. Crank it. Do it again. That's the best it sounds. We gotta adjust the idle. It is idled way up.
What do you mean?
I don't think this is returning all the way back. We might need to get a return spring on this. Or is this? Dude, that was awesome. That sounded so much better. What's up, bruh?
Nothing.
All right, crank her, buddy. Okay. Hey, guess what?
What?
The exhaust isn't plugged.
What happened?
It's fine. It's breathing good. We just got to yank one of these. We got to yank this pipe out the way. All right, great news. She is running 800 times better. Started right up, idled fine. I checked the exhaust. It is not plugged, which was a little concern that I had. That's good. So we're going to do a little more tinkering here. See what we can do. Bad news, folks. I just went to start changing plugs and wires, and this one just broke in the block. And I've actually had this plug out already, so I don't know how this is even possible. I've had this one out a couple times actually. And I know it wasn't over tightened going in. I know it wasn't cross threaded or anything like that, but probably just being old, it's broken and the rest of it is in the block. I'm gonna see what I can do to get it out. I got a couple different easy outs and I got a few things I might be able to get it out with, but it is. That's the problem, is it's in, the plug end is actually in there. So, yeah, not good. Like I've said, if it's not one thing, it's another with this car. Insanely lucky. I cannot believe that that came out as easily as it did. Wow. Okay, so what happened was the actual little the steel outer section of the spark plug was just super duper thin, and from just rusting out from water getting and sitting in the little tunnel going to the spark plug, so it just literally just sheared off. This is like paper thin right here. So I took the second plug out. That one came right out. I'm just going to spray them down really well with some penetrating oil, and hopefully they all come out without fighting me. Like I say, this is one that I've had out like 2 or 3 times already, so I probably just tried my luck a little too much on it, but it's okay. All new plugs are going in now. Shouldn't have this issue ever again. And for those of you who care, the easy out, the extractor kit I got here is made by Mybro, I guess. I don't know where I got it. Probably Lowe's or something like that, maybe Tractor Supply, but anyway, that worked very, very well. Okay, we got plugs and wires done. That was quite an ordeal. So the very first plug, as I said, broke off in the block. I used the easy out to get it out. Did come out, which was awesome. Got the next one done, the next one done, the next one done, and then on the opposite side, I think it was on the opposite side, one of them got rounded off. Water had been getting in and actually rusted out the steel piece here. It's not that one. The water got in and ended up rusting out the hex head on the spark plug. So I actually had to intentionally break the porcelain out of that one, and I was able to get it out with the easy out again, which was great. Then when I finally got to like the second to the last one, the plug actually broke. I don't even know how it broke. It must have been cracked. I think actually this was the number 4 cylinder. This might have been the one that was actually, I could hear arcing to the block. So if that porcelain was cracked, it may have been throwing a spark right to the head. So anyway, that one broke, but I was still able to get it out. So I really cut it. I really got very, very lucky with the spark plugs, because like I say, 3 out of the 8 were nightmares, but I got good wires in, and now we're gonna go ahead and try and start it up. You ready to crank her, baby? Yeah, you wanna do it? Yeah. All right, cool. Crank it, baby. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, so now there's one vacuum leak still on here. Good. All right, one more time, baby. Hop her in. Vital and mint. One more vacuum. The last vacuum leak. Pull the shifter down 1 click. Did you do it? Sick.
I moved it. I cleaned it.
Doesn't look like we got anything here. Ugh. Well, it could be that the shifter linkage is broken, but which is probably true, because this is, again, I think the shifter linkage is the problem. I can't get over it. It's idling like a dream. So there's a little, there's a lot of penetrating oil that I had to spray on the block. That's what you're seeing burning off. That should clear out here momentarily. All right, so now that we know she runs, we're gonna bring her up and we're gonna do an oil change on her. Runs good, a little smoky in here, but I had to spray a lot of penetrating oil on this puppy. So a lot of that was burning off, but success! She runs good! She runs good! No metal whatsoever. Not a single flake of metal. Stick this right in there. Tip it, put that end in and tip it upside down. Yep, right in there. All the way up. Now squeeze it. Oh. Squeeze. This is stuff that kind of thickens up the oil. Not all of it. We'll put like 3/4 of it in. Leave it in that position there for a minute. Go ahead. Official. The FireTurd lives. She runs mint. We got the carburetor on there, plugs and wires. She starts right up. Water pump works. Thermostat open. We were circulating coolant through the system. I can't check oil pressure because the gauges are not working. I'll have to look into that, but I can tell that, well, just for the simple fact that I had a little bit of lifter noise on the passenger side, just a little bit of a ticking going on in there. And once we got the oil and the Lucas in there and kind of let it run a little bit at warmed up and at a little bit of an elevated RPM, it slowly quieted down. So my assumption would be that we're building oil pressure and that, whatever was making that noise kind of came back around. From my ear, it sounds pretty healthy. It sounds like a healthy engine. Very pleased. We finally got there. Plugs and wires, got the oil change done, and the FireTurd lives. So all in all, dude, it was a great day. Good job. Proud of you. Proud of you.
We go home.
You want to go home now?
Okay.
Go watch the Bills?
Yes.
We'll close her out here. We're going to do a little cleaning up. We're going to head home. But thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked what you saw here today, hit that like button and hit the subscribe. All right, we'll see you next time. Peace.